Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to talk to you about my Rolex watch, which is my only one, and I believe it is the most expensive fashion item I've purchased for myself, which says a lot. This was a multi-year purchase in that it took me several years to decide what kind of watch I wanted, and then another several years to make that purchase. So I want to get into all the details, the background story, how I got to choosing this watch, where I bought it, how much it was, the specs, everything. So if you want to learn more about this watch, stay tuned. My introduction to Rolex watches actually came from my ex. At the time, I didn't even know what an automatic watch was, but through talking to him, I learned the appreciation of the construction of automatic watches from these historical brands. And of course, we went into a lot of watch stores as well as vintage shops. And I got to experience him buying his first Rolex. Even then, I wasn't even interested in purchasing a watch at the time because I honestly didn't think that Rolexes were that good looking. And for me, the most important thing for a watch was that it looked good. I always thought that they looked a little bit too big, too masculine, or just a little bit too ornate. I just didn't gravitate towards them until when we were living in Amsterdam. We walked into a renowned vintage watch store. If I can remember the name of that watch store, I will link it down below. So we went in. He's obviously, talking to people, trying on watches, loving his experience. And I'm just, waiting, looking around until I see a watch. And it was a Rolex. And immediately I was like, what is that? And I knew that he was going to take some time at this store. So I asked for the first time ever to see if I can see the watch. And that was my first time ever trying on a Rolex watch. That wasn't his. And it was, let me pull this up. It was a Rolex Presidential No Date Yellow Gold Black Dial ladies watch from the 1990s. And I had never seen a Rolex watch that small before. I have a pretty small wrist. I think the circumference is like 15 centimeters, which means that oftentimes like generic bracelets don't fit on me. And it also means that most watches, even if they're ladies' watches, they look a little big on me. And I had never seen a Rolex watch this dainty. And it was an immediate love at first sight. Another thing that I didn't really like about Rolexes was how, flashy Rolexes were. It was such a status symbol, but on top of that, I thought it was always a little bit too detailed. And this one had the perfect amount of detail. The oyster bracelet instead of like Jubilee or Presidential. And I actually really liked the fluted bezel. I thought the detail being only in the bezel and then the strap being a little bit more, understated was the match made in heaven. On top of that, the dials had no numbers, which was another thing that I didn't like about Rolexes. The font that they use for numbers, I wasn't just a big fan of it. And it really does not translate well in smaller watches, in my opinion. And of course, it was gold and black, probably the two colors that I wear the most in terms of jewelry, as well as my clothing. So I had this moment of like, oh my gosh, there is a Rolex that I like. And I think I was just so taken back by this reality that I just needed to just sit with it. I don't remember the exact price at the time, but I knew that it was a good deal for a gold watch. But I was not in the business of buying an expensive luxury watch. So I took a photo and I walked away. And I found myself thinking about that watch like every day for weeks. So much so that I think by like week 3 or 4, I went back to the store to see if they had it just so that I could try it on again. And of course, it had already been sold. So from then on, I had planted in my head that, okay, I think I want to buy a Rolex. So where do you get this Rolex? I knew that that case size was not available retail. So I knew that I had to buy secondhand. Luckily, I already knew exactly what website to go to that I trusted called Swiss Watch Expo. He had told me that this is kind of arguably one of the best websites and the most trusted websites to go to when it comes to buying secondhand luxury watches. So I started following their inventory from then on. What was important to me when I was looking for this watch was that it had an oyster bracelet, that the case was 24 millimeters in diameter, that it had a fluted bezel, and that the hour markers were just like lines instead of numbers. And please forgive me if I am missing some watch term. Despite being a Rolex owner, I'm still not quite there with my knowledge. And I started looking at all these watches, and immediately I learned that that exact watch that I saw in that shop was really hard to come by. I think in the years that I've been preparing to buy this watch, I saw maybe one that ever came online, and of course it was really expensive because it was gold. And throughout those years, I went into Rolex stores. I took a lot more interest in watches and quickly learned that gold can be really tricky. Now, in the men's Rolex world, stainless steel is kind of like the gold standard. Even though it's cheaper, that's actually the model that most men want because gold is really hard to wear on an everyday basis. And me, as a gold girly, I thought, of course I want a gold watch. I rarely wear silver. But I started to realize that a gold watch, even at this size, can look really flashy. I also did a lot of research on how other people wear their Rolexes, especially women. And I learned that I don't love gold. I think it's just too much gold to be on your wrist. Now, if you love the stacking look, a lot of people pair Rolexes with like the Cartier bracelets. I think that's great. But I knew that I wanted something really simple and understated and for every day. I didn't want to be precious with this watch. I didn't want this watch to be something I only wore on special occasions. I wanted this watch to be scratched up, used, well-loved. And so I started kind of changing my mind about the gold. The price difference is like $10,000. So also that helped. The exact spec that I wanted in stainless steel was a lot more available on this website. The price range was around like $3,200 to $3,500, which was a lot more digestible for me. But even then, it was still a lot of money. So what made me actually pull the trigger? There was a particular tough moment in my life where I was going through a lot. And I felt so proud of myself for overcoming that and actually doing pretty well in that situation that I wanted to treat myself. I went on Swiss Watch Expo. They had about 2 or 3 versions of the exact same one. One was around 3,100 and the other ones were around 3,400. And the difference was that the more expensive one had the original receipt in the box. I knew that this watch was going to be mine forever. I knew that the sentimental value that I was going to attach to this purchase was going to be significant enough that I would never get rid of it. I also knew that the design was timeless. I also knew that I wasn't the type of person who would have so many expensive watches that I would not wear one. So all of that combined, I decided to go for the lower one, and I'm going to tell you the exact price. The retail price was $3,190 USD, but I got some savings because there was like a coupon at the time, so I got $100 off. And they also give you 3% off if you do a wire transfer. So I got off $92.70 for that wire transfer. The total with taxes was $3,255.82. And this was purchased in 2023. Now, I want to share some of the spec about this watch. So, like I said, this is a Rolex Oyster Perpetual Steel White Gold Black Dial ladies watch. It's from 2001 to 2002. The model number is 76094. It's got a 24 millimeter diameter. That is the key to making this watch look like it fit me. The fluted bezel itself is an 18K white gold, but the rest of the bracelet is a stainless steel. I zoomed in all the photos. It was flawless. It didn't have any scratches. The condition was excellent. And I have to say, when I received the watch, I was amazed. It looked so brand new. I even took it to a jeweler to get the links removed so that it's fitted to my wrist. And even they said, where did you get this watch? This watch is in perfect condition. And this watch was already 12 years old. So, when Switch Watch Expo says it's excellent, it is excellent condition. But something I learned afterwards, if you take your Rolex to any Rolex store, they will remove and adjust the links for you for free. So keep that in mind. Now, I've had this watch for, I guess, just over 2 years now. And there are pros and cons. I've had phases of wearing this watch every day and some phases where I don't wear it every day. And I have to say, it still looks impeccably good. I barely have any scratches on this. And I continue to think that I made the right choice with the stainless steel, especially because I wear so much gold. This is actually a nice change to my stack. I like the fact that I permanently wear gold bracelets on one side. And when I do wear my watch, I wear it on my opposite hand, which is my left arm. It allows me to mix my metals more, which I really like. And it honestly goes with every outfit. I will say that I probably wouldn't wear this watch when I'm dressed up, because to me, this reads really casual, but it does look good with blazers and suits. The one con that I will say is I really thought that once I go automatic, I couldn't go to battery watches. Because once you understand the construction and the mechanics of automatic watches, you're just in awe of it. And I really thought that I would never go back. But one thing I've noticed as somebody who actually doesn't wear this watch every day, because sometimes I forget, sometimes I want to wear something gold, I want to switch it up. It's kind of annoying to have to wind it every time. And I don't keep this watch in a winder. Mainly because every time I search online, there's conflicting opinions about whether you should do that or not. Some people say it's good to keep it lubricated, so therefore you should have it in one of those boxes. Some people say that actually unnecessarily uses up the movement. So, it's okay to let it rest as long as you wind it 20 times before you wear it. So I've opted for just leaving it as is and winding every time, which means that sometimes I do have second thoughts about putting it on. That said, I still have such an appreciation for the watch. If you truly want an effortless watch that you can sometimes wear and sometimes not wear, it's just, you're going to have to take 30 seconds to do that extra step. Do I still want the gold version? I don't think so. And I'll tell you why. The Oyster bracelet and the really simple design, no date, all of this makes this watch look incredibly casual. And I think I got the gold version. It would be slightly dressed up, yet everything about the design of that watch wouldn't necessarily make it into a dress watch. I would love a dress watch instead in gold. My dream watch would be a vintage Patek Philippe in just a small of case size. I tried one on also in Amsterdam, but that's another bracket of price that I don't know if I'll ever get to. But yeah, I just think if I'm going to invest in a gold watch, I want it to look a little bit more sophisticated and a little bit more dainty and, like I said, dressier than this watch, which to me almost reads like a sports watch. I think that covers everything for the watch. If you have any additional questions, please leave them down below and I'd be happy to answer them. And I hope this video helped you in deciding what kind of Rolex watch you want to get. All right, see you next time.